If you take the journey this week offers, you will find refreshment in your desert, poems in your rucksack, novels in your footsteps. May this week be an oasis for you, for me, for all of us together.
Sometimes I lie, not big lies, small ones, the kind of lies that make me believe for a moment that I'm a better person than I really am. I lie to my friend Anne about what I'm doing when I don't want to go to another solstice gathering that I don't have the emotional energy for. I lie to my husband Paul when I don't want him to be mad at me or when I don't feel like arguing and I think the truth will lead to an argument. I lie to my mother so I don't feel guilty about why I'm not spending more time with her. I lie to my students about why I haven't gotten grades done sooner. I lie to myself about why I'm procrastinating about starting an exercise program or diet. None of these are big lies. They're not lies about affairs or stealing or major deceits, but still, I think a really good person never lies.
And then there was Ian's family. While everyone in the neighborhood knew everyone else's business, no one wanted to know any more than they had to about Ian's family. There was a desperateness and a darkness that hung over their house, and it had always had a hard edge to it. Ian's father worked at the Hanford nuclear reactor, and Lily would catch brief glimpses of his gray-suited self leaving very early in the morning and returning late in the day. Ian's mother, Mrs. Mullins, looked like one of those women from the silent movies. Dark, short, severe haircut, capri pants, a drink in her left hand, a cigarette in her right. The neighbors constantly discussed Mrs. Mullins' bad habits and poor influence in the neighborhood. What they meant was that she had a drinking problem. No one knew if her drinking problem contributed to Ian's problems or if Ian's problems contributed to her drinking problem. Everyone referred to Ian as special, but that was just another word for different. To most of the neighbors, he was little more than a wild animal. At 6 years of age, he still did not talk, or at least not anything anyone could understand. And everyone knew that if anything strange happened in the neighborhood, it was going to occur when Ian was loose. There had been instances of broken toys high up in trees. Mr. Thompson had human feces on his front porch, and once a stray kitten lay twisted and broken beyond repair. All Lily knew was that Ian spent almost his entire day tied to a clothesline. Of course, the neighbors said Mrs. Mullins did this so as not to lose him during one of her spells, and that it was probably best because Ian was special. But Lily thought that this was a horrid thing to do to a child, special or not. She also thought that perhaps when she was grown up and long gone, the sound of a leash running along a clothesline would be a very sad sound.
It had to be magic. Even a kid like me who'd never seen a miracle or even a magician could tell that. Otherwise, how could I explain what happened next? She opened her mouth and a trillion series of notes spilled out, a waterfall of song. I closed my eyes, feeling her body grow hotter, like she was a miniature sun, heating up the air around us, warming my arms and chest with rays of sound. She grew lighter as well, so light it felt like she was about to float out of my hands. Was she floating? I opened my eyes, blinking through the tears I hadn't realized I was crying. "Gail," I whispered, but my voice was lost in a thrumming of wing beats as hundreds upon hundreds of birds swirled and swooped through the sky above us, silent, except for the sound of feathers and wind.
I have little memory of my sister's hospitalizations. Her illness became routine. The ritual filling of the syringe with insulin by my father each morning as we ate breakfast, the double checking for sugar cubes in the glove box before we set out in the car, and the careful examination of her cuts for signs of infection was akin to setting the table for Sunday dinner or hanging our wet bathing suits on the back of the bathroom door after a Saturday afternoon in my aunt's pool.
But he is dead. He is no longer alive, no longer able to scream bloody blue murder, no longer able to piss or eat ham steaks and baby lamb chops while the rest of them ate hamburgers and hot dogs because it was his money. You'd better know it was his goddamn money, after all, that paid for everything that went into your goddamn mouth, everything that clothed your goddamn naked body, Rachel's naked body, the one he secretly and not so secretly wanted to touch. His money, his house, his show, his children. He sucked the life out of the stepchildren, the ones that he made his. They weren't his, even though the lawyers listed them with his birth children and surviving wife. He used a plastic flexi straw to do the sucking. Remember those? What would it take to award him, post-death, an Academy Award for Best Actor in the category of vampires? He was inscribed in Rachel's Book of the Dead along with the others. He was a real standout because of the badass karma will likely return to earth life he had lived this time around. But, dear Rachel, like so many others in this decrepit address book you call home with, he is dead. Isn't it time to do spring cleaning?
I look at these people and I know what they do not yet know. That Vera, the second daughter, will remember the tenacity of lice, the smell of kerosene. That Barbara, the third daughter, will join a cult in California and disappear for years. That Beatrice, the youngest daughter, who will become my mother, will descend into the darkness of despair. That Ted will not come to Bombay to say goodbye when Beatrice leaves India for the last time. That Mildred will be shackled to a gurney, stunned into silence by the wires attached to her skin. That Mary, the eldest daughter, not here, having been sent home to America, will seek answers in the wildness of geese, the heart's yearning for home.
Over the next years, I spent hours practicing alone in my room, trying to be the next great woman cellist, leaning down until my temple rested on the wood, absorbing the vibrations as I drew the bow across the lowest string, allowing it to work upon me, to startle my heart like a revival. When I tried to explain my passion, she said cryptically, "Sometimes you leave the ground with 2 feet," her small head bobbing from side to side, the tight auburn curls bouncing. She repeated it often, and for a long time, I thought it was a compliment.
Some men were going around hunting, and they found a big cave, and as they were entering it, they discovered a great rattlesnake coiled up, which had its face larger than the face of a cat. Ascension Solor Sanan. The snake was in its cave, dreaming of rats, its tongue tasting the air, key-slot eyes open on the dark corridor of itself, when the hunters stumbled on it, thickly coiled, a pool of snake. Its rattles hissed once, but their guns shot its head off, and that was the end of the snake. They cut off its rattles for a keepsake. The ants came looking, and the hunters left. Yet the sound it had made, a fierce blast of sand in an empty bucket, stayed in their ears, and they walked all night in terror, tramping out coils. The snake flattened in death and bled out its history. Out rushed the winters that once held it hostage, the summer's mornings when it poured itself downhill to bask on a flat ledge. The sun's hand on its long, long back traveled warm like a train through a tunnel. Fast to strike, slow to swallow, the snake would eye whatever moved. Rattlesnake, I speak to your dust in homage. Ancient one of the flat iron face, the ominous repose. Who but you could know so well the skin of the mountain? Who but you was its lover?
I pull out my salad and try not to take too big of a forkful. Moises, on the other hand, takes huge chunks of what looks like a Cuban sandwich. After a long silence, he asks, "So, how's that working for you?" "Excuse me?" "Nick, how's your boy Nick treating you?" I lie. "It's great. I mean, he's great. He knows how to treat a girl right, always buying me things, jewelry, all kinds of stuff." "That's what you like?" "Must be nice." "It is. It's really nice. Not like the guys here. The idiots here probably just buy you a White Castle hamburger and call it a day." Or maybe Mickey D's. That's a little bit classier, he says. So Nick, what's his background? The more questions he asks about Nick, the more ridiculous I feel. There is no Nick, but there's no stopping now. The lies are the only thing keeping this conversation flowing. His background? Nick is Jewish, I think. He's definitely not Latino. The first day Papi dropped me off at school, that's all he talked about. You won't find any títeres here. Only blanquitos, white people. This is a good school, princesa. Look at them. I knew exactly what Papi meant by good. Skin color matters to my parents. If you're a little dark-skinned, a trigueñito, that's bad luck. Lighter, you're definitely blessed. My brother Junior takes after Mommy's side of the family. They all have caramel skin. I take after Papi, El Cano, the white boy. But I'm not admitting any of this to Moises or to anyone else. Not out loud, anyway.
Maybe I would like them better if I got to know them more. He abhors their dusty faces. They are dirtying the pure wilderness. Yes, I know his voice was kinder than others. We know this. That isn't the point. Now, their presence and breath are only novelty. Dead and banished leaders have lakes named after them, informational kiosks. So here, on the ancient trade route, as my native sister and I mourn banishment and genocide, we think back to John Muir's words and say in a whisper, yes, let us get to know one another.
Mother, when I thought the light had left me, it was you who made me swallow that chain of mirrors to catch the vision of fire rippling across bramble, waves of heat moving like silk where I snapped my bones for kindling. It was you who clawed out from that layered husk of gossamer to put my collarbone back on, showed me I was more than broken, taught me we are more than our mistakes. You made me, unmade me, and from the raveling and unraveling you gave me a tapestry, image of women passing the small stone of memory, hand to hand, bridging generations. You who stand despite their arm-size cords. You who understand life is granted daily. Through you I am born again, 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 in a gathering of light.